Out to America's Radio Newsline, standing by, Congressman Reid Ribble. He's a Republican, represents Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District. Congressman, welcome to America's Radio News. I should say welcome back because we talked to you when we covered the Republican National Convention live, didn't we, sir?
We sure did. It was good to talk to you then, Chris, and I'm happy to be with you today.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you're here as a representative of No Labels, that bipartisan organization. I want to get into some of the latest efforts from that organization, but first let's talk about some of the headlines that we're dealing with here in our great nation. Of course, the Mideast violence. A lot of the critics of the administration say they were caught flat-footed. They should have been better prepared on 9/11 to handle things at our embassies abroad. Do you agree?
I do agree. Listen, our Marines have always been responsible for protecting our consulates and our embassies. It's a little surprising that we're sending the Marines into Libya after 4 Americans have been killed rather than before, and so that's a little disappointing. And I also am disappointed with the idea that the president is not defending free speech enough here in America. Listen, free speech for one is free speech for all, and Islamic sensibilities are protected through free speech, not offended by it.
Yeah, are you concerned about the taking into custody of this alleged internet filmmaker out in California?
Of course, it's a violation of constitutional rights. Since when in America can't you say what you feel and believe, whether it's smart or dumb, incendiary or not? Mm-hmm. Free speech is a foundation and bedrock of American civil liberties, and we ought to be very, very careful about how we proceed here.
Yeah, critics of the administration have said it's a far cry from, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll defend your right to the death to say it.
Exactly, and that defends the Islamists in America as well. That defends all religion in America. And an attack against free speech is an attack against religion itself.
All right. Our guest right now is Reid Ribble. He's a Republican who represents Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District. And Congressman, there's a CNBC article today that seems to reinforce what President Obama and the Democrats are running on in this election, and I wanted to get your impression of it, sir, because you have an extensive business background. The headline is very provocative. Tax cuts for the rich don't spur growth. I'll surmise this by saying you go through the whole write-up here on CNBC's web page, and basically they say, look, tax cuts for the wealthy do not spur economic growth, nor do tax increases spur economic growth, but it does determine how the pie is sliced, if you will. What's your take?
Well, listen, all capital is fungible. It moves through the economy at virtually the same speed, whether it's in the hands of the government or whether it's in the hands of the business person. And so the real question is, who's better able to direct how that money is spent and invested and moved? And I would dare say, based on how the government's been spending it, that the individual business owner is better able to spend it. Now, as far as whether it grows the economy or not, there are a lot of moving parts as to whether or not an economy is going to grow. And I would say that uncertainty in tax law is every bit of a wet blanket over growth, as is what the tax rates actually are. Complexity of tax law is another problem. And then, of course, you have the regulatory environment. Mm-hmm. And so just addressing it at tax rates, they may be correct in that regard. But I would much rather trust the individual business person or individual consumer to make a choice of what they're going to do with their money than the government.
Right. It was a study from the Congressional Research Service, and not mentioned in the CNBC article was all the extraneous factors that you just outlined, Congressman, about burdens from government and regulation, all that. I'm not sure if that was factored in. Let me ask you about your work on No Labels. They have, of course, spearheaded this no budget, no pay, but now they're actually expanding it to a broader concept of make Congress work. What is No Labels? And by the way, the No Labels is made up of independents, Democrats, and Republicans. What is this whole make Congress work initiative about?
Well, No Labels, and if your listeners want to go learn more about them, they can go to nolabels.org and kind of see what types of reforms. But this is a group of American citizens led by some corporate CEOs that are saying, listen, Congress isn't working correctly right now. And they believe that part of the problem is that we get caught up in labels, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, libertarian, so on and so forth. And so they're looking at reforms to actually make the Congress work for the American people. No budget, no pay is a bill that was drafted by a Democrat from Nashville by the name of Jim Cooper. It makes a lot of sense in that why should Congress be paid if they don't pass a budget and get their 12 appropriations bills done? It's been more than a decade since the Congress was able to do that. Mm-hmm. And they have reforms on appointments by the Senate, reforming the filibuster over on the Senate side rather than a virtual filibuster where you can just claim I'm filibustering. Senators would actually have to go to the House floor and start talking again. And they're asking members of Congress to lay down their sword for a while and just actually begin to debate the big issues of the day.
Well, Congress's approval.
Right.
Yeah, Congress's approval rating is in the toilet, Congressman. So I think that maybe no labels may be onto something. Representative Reid Ribble, he represents Wisconsin's 8th congressional district, a Republican from that congressional district. Sir, we thank you for your candor and your expertise here on America's Radio News.
Thanks, Chris. Anytime.